Hey guys, what's up? It's Rebecca here today. I am super late trying to get this Mental Health Monday out. I've been sick and I had a surgery last Friday and I've been trying to heal and recover from that, as well as whatever else I've got going on. Who knows? Got a lot of things going on. But anyway, today I want to talk to you guys about schizophrenia. That's kind of on my mental health checklist. I don't personally have mental health issues. Yes, I do. I have mental health issues. But I don't personally have schizophrenia. So what I'm saying is all just from things that I've learned, and also things that you can learn through research also. So let's just dive in. Let's dive in and talk about schizophrenia, okay guys? So schizophrenia is a disorder, a mental health disorder, and it has symptoms that are very similar to bipolar disorder, not bipolar 2, more so bipolar 1, whereas it has the manic episodes and depression. No one really knows what causes schizophrenia. But research does show that it's genetic, so if somebody in your family history has ever been diagnosed with this, there is a potential there that you possibly could have it too. You know, it's worth looking into. But also environmental factors. Well, environmental factors can increase your likelihood to develop schizophrenia. There are different types of schizophrenia, just like there's different types of bipolar disorder. It can be treated with counseling and medications, seeing psychiatrists, things like that. But I don't think with anything, period, that there's really a cure. So I just want to put that out there. There's treatment, there's ways to find help and to become a better you, but you got to get rid of the idea that there's a normal out there. There is no such thing as normal. You know, we have stereotypes that we're willing to accept as normal, or what we wish we were like, that we can put off on others that we think are normal. But there is no true norm. There is no end all be all that this is normal. But we have behaviors that we also think are abnormal, such as stalking is abnormal to a lot of people. Yeah, I don't think stalking is normal. I don't think that pedophilia is normal, and fight me. I don't think that being mentally, emotionally, or physically abusive is normal. But those who grow up in an environment like that may think it's normal, and it takes some time and counseling and a desire to change to get to the point where you think, or where you realize that that's not right and you want to overcome it. But anyway, back to the schizophrenia. What is schizophrenia, you may ask? Well, by definition, it is a mental illness that it affects your thoughts, it affects your mood and behavior. You may have, like I said earlier, the bipolar disorder and schizophrenia. You may see some of the some similarities between the two. These symptoms can be the mania, the depression, and the psychosis that are there in bipolar disorder. About 1 in 200 people excuse me, develop schizophrenia or schizoaffective disorder during their lifetime, and it tends to develop in early adulthood, and it's common more so in women than men. Psychiatrists will, as far as being diagnosed with schizophrenia, what you can look for there is to go to a psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist there is going to they're going to conduct a mental health assessment, and it may take more than one time because it's really hard to sit with somebody just one go round and, make this decision about their mental health state. When we meet with people the first time, we tend to show our best self, and that can skew how a psychiatrist may view us or may view what we potentially have wrong with us. So it could take a series of assessments to kind of come up with this diagnosis. And the more you tell and the more you're open about your true self and the more you're willing to seek help, the better help you'll receive on the other end. But anyway, so the psychiatrist, you know, he's probably going to be looking for, he or she is going to probably be looking for depressive or manic episodes as well as the psychosis. The symptoms that the psychiatrist is going to be kind of honing in on, some of the behaviors, are going to be hallucinations. And these can also be considered symptoms on the patient end. So hallucinations are where you may hear or see or even feel things that aren't really there. And this can happen with other mental health disorders, but it's more prevalent, I think, in schizophrenia. You may be delusional, and I know a lot of times people get hallucinations and being delusional mixed up, but the hallucinations are when you truly think you hear and see and feel things, whereas the delusions are you truly believe things that aren't true. And it can be just an idea that pops into your head. You truly, truly believe that this friend that's trying to help you is not trying to help you at all. They're trying to get you locked away in a mental hospital where you can't see or talk to any of your family or friends. And that's a true delusional because you believe it. You believe it down in your soul. I mean, you can almost feel the fact that this, whatever the idea is, whatever the belief is, that's really not true, but you believe it in your core to be true. You may also have disorganized speech. You know, they will be looking for that because I talk quickly and my thoughts are just all over the place, even in regular conversations. So it's not just a video thing. That's just how I am, period. But that's more so to do with my ADHD. But with the disorganized speech in this particular case is you may be talking quickly or really slowly. And all the things that you say might not really make sense to other people. You could just, you know, put a bunch of random stuff together and it's like nobody is really following what you're saying because it's just, you know, you're not really able to communicate what you're trying to say, and it's just every kind of nonsense really, and you switch topics without there being like a link between the things you're talking about. Catatonic behavior, it's a little bit hard to describe, but if you have catatonic behavior, you may be like unable to move, or you may appear like you're just kind of dazed and confused and don't really have a clue. You don't have a clue what's going on, but you internally you feel unable to move and unable to maybe talk or, you know, kind of put one foot in front of the other because I don't know how else to describe it. You kind of have to, I guess you'll have to do your own research, but catatonic behavior is one of the keys here. Catatonic, for the love of God and all things holy. Catatonic behavior is just feeling unable to move or appearing like you're dazed and confused. So you may know that you need to move, you need to go to the bathroom or whatever, but you just kind of, it's just like this pause, this apprehension, just not being able to perform or to do whatever task you're trying to do. Have disorganized behavior, and disorganized behavior, that sounds so, I mean, everybody has that, right? But you might struggle to organize your life, to stick to appointments that you make. Those are some examples. I think we're all a little disorganized in some ways, but I feel like a lot of people with schizophrenia aren't really able to not have successful lives. I'm not saying, I don't want it to come off like I'm saying that, but there are some that do struggle with finding a career path and finding a family and home life for themselves, not the family that you're born into. So those are some ways that you might not be able to organize your life. I'm not talking about like, have your little office organized or clean a room or that kind of thing. Kind of just a bigger picture. When we think of a full life, most people, when we think of a full life, we think about, the career, the family, the home life, friend life, just all those things. And unfortunately, you're not able to make all the connections and have sometimes a fuller life. So you have disorganized behavior. The negative symptoms that you may experience: a loss of the ability to enjoy life or find enjoyment in life. And that's a big thing that is also very easily tied into depression, but I look at it as a whole picture. You might not want to have a family as in with children, you might not want to get married, but maybe you enjoy dating life, or you enjoy gaming, or you enjoy, but you don't have like a full picture, like you don't have a job, so you just game, and that's it. Or you could just work. I haven't seen very many people in that scenario, but you usually tend to be hyper-focused on just one thing, and that's kind of it. But anyway, so there's some negative symptoms with schizophrenia, and there's several of them, but the ones that I would point out most are lack of motivation, slow movement. Even if there's kind of a rush to do something or a rush to be, like maybe something needs to be done expeditiously, they're in no hurry. So slow movement, and not because they don't want to be, it's just the way that it's internal. Change in sleep patterns. You may have days of insomnia and then days of just sleep, or you may suddenly become a morning person, and then the next thing you know, you're not, and it's just changing sleep patterns totally. A lot of people have poor grooming and poor hygiene, and this is totally not their fault. And this can happen with or without schizophrenia, but just patterns that we see, negative symptoms that you see would be, the poor grooming and hygiene. Difficulty in planning and setting goals. This is kind of what I was talking about as far as career paths. There's just, and it's not that there's a lack of ambition, it's the inability to put all the steps together to complete what you're wanting to do. And that's why it's so important to reach out for help. Not saying much. A lot of times people that are schizophrenic, because of, maybe the delusions and the hallucinations and things like that, they just maybe tend to keep to their self, because it's like, who can I trust? I don't know. It's a lot. So unfortunately, it just goes maybe not unnoticed, but untreated, because nobody's talking about it. There's changes in body language. Over time, it can make you become more reclusive and not want to have as much to do with maybe family, friends, or whatever. Lack of eye contact. A lot of people, when they have conversations, they like to have that eye contact and feel that we're, exchanging things together, and there's a trust that can be built with eye contact, and so people are kind of looking away, and it makes you doubt them a little bit. And it doesn't necessarily mean that they're telling you a big old whopper or anything like that. It's just, it could be part of something bigger, a bigger picture there too. There's a reduced range of emotions, and it's not that they don't care, because this also ties in with other mental health disorders, but it's not that there's not a care there, but sometimes it's not knowing how to express the emotion. But there is a reduced range of emotion, whether it be happy, sad, glad, excited, anything. There's just a lack there. There's less interest in socializing and hobbies and activities. Now, like I said, you can become hyper-focused in one area or another, but sometimes the things that used to interest you the most, just totally is not important at all. Maybe you used to like reading and going to a book club. Well, now it's like you don't want to read at all, or you just don't find pleasure in it. With the mania, which I know I've talked about this a little in the past, but this is kind of more mania in relation to the schizophrenia. If you experience and you're concerned that you may have schizophrenia and you want to kind of symptom check, I'm not trying to self-diagnose, you do need to seek professional help, but these are just some things that you can kind of internalize and question yourself about. So some of the symptoms as far as the mania part of schizophrenia goes are, you might feel overly active, you might feel energetic and just restless. You may recognize some of these things from the bipolar, but also you could feel more irritable than usual, feel overly confident, very talkative, and jump from kind of one idea and one thing to the next, or just have racing thoughts. I get that a lot. You could feel elated for no freaking reason, like even if things aren't going well for you. And I mean, don't get me wrong, there's power in positivity, but in this instance, it's like you're just feeling elated and like life is good, and really you're not dealing with the situation probably that you need to be dealing with. Whatever is bad, you're just elated any freaking way, right? Now, also being easily distracted and struggling to focus on just one topic is a big deal. Not needing much sleep, that kind of goes back with restlessness. Thinking you can do more than really what you can, maybe more than you're financially capable of, maybe more than you're physically capable of. Like, I like to try to conquer the world, and it doesn't always work out like that, right? You might also get involved in more risky situations, and I mean that could be like spending a lot of money, gambling, having multiple partners, drugs and alcohol, just unwise business decisions. There's so many things that could be because of. And also in the mania, you could be more social than normal. You could just be like love everybody and be the life of the party one minute, and the next minute you're down in the bed and don't know what's going on. Right? And you can also be argumentative and pushy and aggressive, and that is so, like I said, those are all symptoms of mania, and they are more so related to bipolar. However, you could have that symptom as a part of schizophrenia. The depression, I'm sure everybody is familiar with depression, but sometimes you're not. Sometimes it hits you out of nowhere. So some depressive symptoms are just low energy, a low mood. You feel slowed down kind of inside, you're hopeless, and you're just kind of positively negative a lot. Maybe feeling guilty or worthless or helpless. You lose interest in things that you normally found pleasure in. You may have difficulty concentrating, remembering, or even struggling to make decisions. You can become restless or irritable, and a lot of times with depression, you just sleep too much. You're just sleep, and you just feel like you never got enough sleep, and you need more sleep, and just sleep. It's just not enough. You could be more hungry than usual, or you could be less hungry than usual. A lot of times we eat our feelings, unfortunately, when we're depressed, and I think that a lot of people suffer from seasonal depression, and a lot of times that happens in the winter time, and we pack on the winter 20 or something, whatever they call it. You could pack on those pounds during the winter, and then you lose them during the summer because you're more active. But a lot of times it actually could be because you were depressed and you're eating more than normal. Anyway, and also with depression, you could have thoughts of suicide or death, period. You could just become hyper-focused on that. I talked about earlier schizophrenia being a genetic thing, and it can be, but it doesn't mean that you couldn't be the first person in your family history to become diagnosed with it. So don't feel like, oh, nobody in my family has ever had it. Have they not had it, or have they not been diagnosed with it? Because mental health has a really big stigma around it, in case you hadn't noticed. It's a little less now, but especially years and years and years ago, mental health was like, ugh, and unfortunately, especially for men, you can't get a man to seek treatment or convince them there was something maybe mentally wrong with them. So anyway, just to let you know, schizophrenia and schizoaffective disorder specifically is slightly more common in members of a family that already have been diagnosed with schizophrenia, but schizoaffective disorder or bipolar disorder. So if you do have a family history of that, then obviously it's very possible that you're more likely to also be diagnosed. I mentioned earlier some environmental factors, and environmental factors really just means your personal experiences in life. Stress can contribute very greatly to having a schizoaffective episode. So stress, it could be caused by bereavement, bereavement of a child, of a parent, or of anyone in your life. Also be brought on by debt or employment issues. There are a number of environmental factors that might trigger an episode. Childhood trauma and pretty much how you develop throughout life those things can cause you to become schizophrenic. It can make psychosis also more likely. There's no harm in checking out your family history, but also know that just because you don't find anything in your family history doesn't mean that you couldn't possibly have it. It's always worth asking the question, being completely open and honest with a therapist about how you really are. There's no shame in admitting I feel like these things. You don't even have to mention to a psychiatrist or psychologist or anybody what you think you might have, but if you go in there prepared to be open with who you are. I don't know what I was saying, but environmental factors can play a role in it, and regardless of anything, if you suspect that you need mental help, then I totally encourage you to be 100% upfront and honest with how you feel inside, things that maybe concern you about your behaviors. And I'm just going to be transparent here. When I went and saw my psychiatrist, I made the decision that I was going to be more upfront than I have ever been, because I always choose to, like most people do, show the pretty side of me, show the bright positive and the good deeds, and I've got my crap together person side of myself. But when I made the call to get myself help, I chose then to just be 100% transparent. I'm going to tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly, and I encourage you to do the same, because it will help you. It will help you get the proper treatment. And even if you're, hate to say it, even if you're a stalker, I've had more trouble today than I probably feel like I should be having. Anyway, but what I was trying to say so eloquently was that I chose to be transparent, and I encourage you to do the same. Really tell it like it is, the good, the bad, and the ugly, because the best thing that you can do for yourself, even if you're a stalker, is to be transparent, because surely you don't really want to continue harassing, people that aren't interested in you or don't even know you exist or whatever. Surely you want help. And maybe you're not at the point where you even see that anything's wrong, but maybe people are telling you this behavior is not normal, and they want to help you. If you can just take that, not with a grain of salt, but take heed and just lay it out there on the line for a psychiatrist or a psychologist or whomever you choose to see, or even just a regular doctor that might refer you to a specialist in the mental health field. If you are transparent and you tell them the symptoms or the things that are bothering you about yourself, because, in the beginning, I suppose, playing around and sleeping a lot, if you're able to do that, is all fine and dandy. But then eventually one day you come to realize that this is no life. That's no life that I want to live. I don't want to stay in bed for days and days and days and miss out on fun things and not answer the phone not because I don't want to talk to the person, but just because I just physically feel like I can't. That's not fun. That is no life to lead. If you're making bad decisions, especially bad financial ones, surely you want help for that too. And all of that said, I just encourage you to be the best you that you can be. And the only way to do that is to be open and honest with yourself and open and honest with others as it pertains to your mental health, so that you can get treatment if you need it. And even if you don't need it, there's nothing wrong with going to counseling or being involved with communities where you feel like you can really be open and talk about things because they're not going to judge you. I encourage that too, because just being able to get things kind of off your chest, and not that your, significant other or your best friend or whomever isn't a good person to go to, but sometimes just to be able to talk kind of uninterrupted, or have aha moments like, oh my goodness, that was not a good thing that I was doing, and I do need to correct this behavior. Those are all good things, and I encourage you to go after that, because you can achieve happiness, you can have joy in your life, you can have mental stability, and you can be the best you that there is. There's nobody else like you. I've always been intrigued by mental health issues. Just let me put that out there. But I think that 2020 just really heightened that for me, that desire to learn more. I think the biggest reason was because so many people are just totally ashamed, especially men. And I'm not knocking on you guys, but there is a lot of men that just, there's no way you're going to get them to go to a counselor. There's no way you're going to get them to admit there might be something wrong with them, or to seek treatment for depression or for just anything. It's like pulling teeth. And, I hope to eradicate this stigma. I mean, not single-handedly, but hopefully I can build me a little mental health army, and we can prove to others that there's nothing wrong with having any kind of mental disorder. You can even be a narcissist. Truly, I believe this. You can be a narcissist, and if you are cognitive of it, that you can do things in your life to change that. Not just with medication, but you can actively choose behaviors that will help you to be less narcissistic and be more aware of others and aware of how what you do makes people feel. And it's all a good thing. It's a beautiful thing. And I guess the last thing that I will ramble on about is just, once again, schizophrenia. There's nothing to be ashamed of in this, just like there's nothing to be ashamed of in any mental health disorder. And the further we dive into these episodes, and the more we talk about, and hopefully get the community involved, the little Rebecca FMD community and the mental health community, the less stigma there will be around things, because there are people that you work with every day that, have mental health issues, and you would never guess it. And it could be they're really good at covering up, or it could be that are being treated and taking steps behaviorally to correct these things. So it's a wonderful thing, and there's nothing in the world wrong with any mental illness or any physical illness either. Seriously. I'm going to try to calm myself. Probably going to take my medication for anxiety, and hopefully get this video edited and go take a nap. Anyway, let me leave you with my final thought, is that the more you are aware of your mental health, the more you're aware of how others perceive you and receive you, and the better the world will be, period. Because when we take those steps to be the best person that we can be, Sometimes we're overly nice, and I have definitely been down that road, and I'm still kind of like on that road, being overly nice and not knowing how to say no, and there's a fault to that too. And I want to empower those people, because I know they do as well. But there is behavioral therapy for that. There is, you can find strength in your voice and you can say no, and there's nothing in the world wrong with that. And there's people that are absolutely would just not do anything for anybody because it's like, what's in it for me? And those people, there's help for you too. And you can do those things by just becoming aware of yourself and how you perceive can be a game changer. So I encourage you to put in. Anywho, I hope you all have a great day. Sorry that I pretty much missed your Monday because the chances of me actually getting this in before midnight, currently it is 10:41 Central Standard Time, and I don't see the editing process being quick because there's a whole bunch of garbage noise in the background, so it's gonna be real fun. Anyway, I hope y'all have a great week, and hopefully I'll get my crap together so that I can have my Monday video out on Monday actually. All right. Anyway, goodbye guys, goodbye friends, and I hope to hear from you down below. Give me a like if you enjoyed the video and subscribe. Bye guys.